Let's face it, the Cleveland Cavaliers have a few different needs to address this offseason. They need to find their next head coach, they need to add a bigger wing or two, and perhaps most glaring of all is their lack of a true third big. They need a reliable option off the bench to help fill the void that has been opened frankly since Kevin Love left town. In my last breakdown, I discussed how G League Ignite prospect Tyler Smith could be an option, but another comes in the form of University of Dayton big man Daron Holmes. Please excuse my French, but Holmes would damn near be the perfect fit in this role due to his versatility on both ends of the floor. Offensively speaking, Daron Holmes has so much to like as he looks the part of the modern day big man. The versatile nature of his game would make him an easy plug and play addition into any lineup. He can and will perform the basic duties or tasks of a big man, in particular the pick and roll, where his effectiveness is apparent from the jump as he is a terrific finisher who tends to set devastating screens before timely rolls to the rim. And let me make this abundantly clear, he doesn't simply just perform these duties, he embraces his role as a screener, as a cutter, and as a rim runner. He appears to love it, folks.
Elvis, nice pass, Holmes with the two! Luke is confident in his skill set.
He has the soft hands necessary to haul in tough passes and high-level athleticism, which allows him to throw down thunderous dunks over his opponents. Per synergy, Holmes shot 67.3% on 226 attempts at the rim. As you know, over the course of the last few seasons, the Cavs' bread and butter has been the pick and roll. Therefore, Holmes' ability to finish off lob attempts, cut to the basket, execute DHOs, and dunk it home with authority at times would be a welcome sight to Cleveland and fit right in. This past season, he had the nation's 7th most dunks, throwing down 71 of 74 attempts. Down in the low post, Holmes has good but not necessarily high level footwork, and by virtue of that, he is a very capable post present. He got 6 post touches per game, which he used significantly and efficiently. He shot 47.8% on his post ups and ranked within the 82nd percentile on them this season. He can use a mixture of drop steps, spin moves, and pivots combined with his sheer brute strength to bully past his opponents. The big man can be a very effective low post scorer when he's engaged, decisive, and deliberate with his movements. Holmes has a legitimate back to the basket game that shows off his touch, something that he has had to work on over the years. He may be slightly undersized as the center at the next level, but he is indeed good enough to beat mismatches. Don't be fooled into putting smaller defenders on him. He could absolutely punish a switching defense by sealing off smaller defenders under the rim and going to work. I don't necessarily expect him to be asked to be a post-up threat at the NBA level, but it's a nice tool to have in the proverbial shed nevertheless. For as productive as he can be in the pick and roll and posting up, the real draw here is his ability as a shooter. Daron Holmes has seemingly morphed into a terrific shooter in year 3. After taking a combined 26 total triples through his freshman and sophomore seasons and knocking down just 7 or rather 27%, he would really turn up the heat from range and toss up 83 total attempts over the duration of his junior season with the Flyers, gaining a career best 38.6% in the process. The big man appears a lot more comfortable in setting his feet at a quicker pace, and as a result, his release appeared smooth and the arc he put on his shots rendered him less susceptible to being blocked. At Dayton, he was constantly in motion in this regard, often being used in pick and pop sets where he would pick opposing defenses apart with a 3-ball.
To travel, 6-point advantage for the Lancers at the end of the first half.
Good! Ready, because you don't want to just make it as Holmes can. You want to be ready and last.
Back into Northwestern's hands. Dayton's turned it over back-to-back trips.
It was quite common to see him set a well-timed screen and then pop back out onto the perimeter. He is already a big threat as a catch-and-shoot specialist on the perimeter, putting up 1.18 points per possession off the catch and shoot, and as such, opposing defenders will have no choice but to keep an eye on him when he spots up to shoot, which is a great asset to have in the front court. He is more of an off-ball shooter at this point in time, which is perfectly fine considering he will likely be stepping into an off-ball role wherever he lands, and as mentioned before, Dayton liked to use him in pick and pop sets quite often, and that opened the floor for the ball handlers. The Cavaliers would kill to have that skill set in one of their current big men. In addition to all of this, Holmes knows how to use his gravity to his advantage when driving towards the rim from beyond the 3-point line. He can reliably put the ball on the floor and attack closeouts, and in doing so, he has displayed a solid level of handle for his size.
Cheeks. Holmes, he'll take a 3 every once in a while. He already has 1 today, but then he'll go to the basket.
Holmes. Spin move in the lane. How about that with the left? Gets the
in front of his bench. Switching.
Holmes. Pop action.
Off the up fake. Bailey had to play soft, and he
This handle is also seen when pulling down a rebound after a defensive stop and bringing the ball up the floor while attack off the dribble at times. Elsewhere, Holmes is already a terrific rebounder who should only get better at the next level, assuming he continues to hone his skills as a box-out artist. He would finish top 20 in conference in each of his 3 seasons with the Flyers and would cap off his college career with a personal best 8.5 boards per game, which led the Atlantic 10 Conference. He's solid on both ends in this regard and now has a total rebound percentage of 15.9, which happens to be 3rd in the conference. The Flyer product is also a pretty solid playmaker. He is quite effective in pick and pop sets in this regard, as he would set screens, pop out, and then drive towards the cup with the intent to move the ball, utilizing the gravity he generates on rim pressers to his advantage. He can also do damage after receiving the ball within the post, where he can reroute it after reading the defense and finding the open man on the perimeter.
We got the mismatch there inside.
Holmes guarded by Medley, passes out of it for Brea for 3.
One.
Brea, run out, Holmes gathers himself, needs some help underneath the basket. Elvis, another 3.
Another area we can hurt defenses is out of the short roll, where he would find both shooters and cutters. He would finish his junior season with 2.6 assists per game. Each and every one of these offensive skills has made him into one of basketball's most efficient players. He now has the highest career offensive rating in A10 history, and his PER is 4th in the country behind Zach Edey, Donovan Clingan, and Johnny Broome. Defensively, Holmes has a lot to offer, as his versatility on that end could make him a near seamless fit for any defensive scheme. His measurables paint him as sort of a tweener, as he stands at 6'8" 3/4", without shoes and weighing in at 236.2 pounds per the NBA Draft Combine results. But honestly, who the hell cares about the height measurement without shoes? I don't. This man could very reasonably give a team minutes at either the 4 or 5. He's at home as a rim protector, using his 7'1" wingspan to its fullest extent by making life hard on drivers and shot takers. His 2.1 blocks per game ranked 4th in conference, and his 7.2 block percentage was 5th this season. Notice how disciplined he is, always seeming to utilize proper positioning. He knows how to use his hands and when to provide a timely contest when defending the pick and roll. His timing is typically great. He has a great range of motion, and he can move his hips well to counter spin moves or changes of pace or direction from a ball handler, and showcases good recovery when hedging. Dayton typically used him in shallow to deep drop coverages.
To it here, he made his 3 free throws. They go down low to Henry. Trying to go around.
Now don't get me wrong, shot blocking may very well be his best defensive skill, but that's not all he's capable of. What honestly impresses me the most about him on this end is his ability to step out on the perimeter and defend smaller, quicker players at times. This allows for effective switches where he can be a disruptive perimeter defender who slides his feet with his arms spread wide.
Adams Woods, he's rejected by Holmes. It's spinning as Santos gets it back to him.
Just pull up.
And lost the ball.
5 seconds left in the half. Clark has it picked up.
Daron Holmes is a prospect with a lot of potential, but that doesn't necessarily mean he is without weaknesses. After all, there is no such thing as a perfect prospect. Let's start with a pretty straightforward question, shall we? Can he sustain the level of shooting that he managed during his junior season? As mentioned before, the UD product completed a career best 38.6% from 3-point range this season. I feel it necessary to add a bit of context here though, as that 38.6% came on just 2.5 attempts per game. This was by far the highest per game amount of his college tenure, but it's not necessarily enough to quiet down the questions about the sustainability of his shot-making prowess, especially since it came after back-to-back seasons in which he rarely used the 3-ball, as he attempted a combined 26 triples, making just 7. I believe the shot is live, but he must prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is the real deal. Also, while Holmes has phenomenal touch right at the rim and a good shooting stroke from 3-point distance, he lacks an in-between game which would change up the pace. He took just 22 mid-range jumpers and completed just 40.9% per Synergy Sports. Most of these came with the shot clock winding down, so there really isn't a large sample size to dissect. That said, he has shown brief flashes of post fadeaways potentially being a part of his offensive bag. He likely won't get the opportunity too often at the next level to isolate in this way, but it's certainly a skill that could help. Outside of that, while he's capable of putting the ball on the floor and has decent handle for his size, he must emphasize cutting down on turnovers. He is guilty of telegraphing his passes a little too often, and sometimes he can find himself without any real plan, dribbling into trouble. The way in which he handles with his right hand could leave him susceptible to being stripped at the next level. His 74 total turnovers this season placed 5th in the conference. He'll need to be more judicious with the ball in his hands. One other major question mark is whether or not he will be able to adjust to playing against pro-level talent. It's fair to say that he suited up against limited top-level competition while playing for Dayton, as the A-10 conference isn't exactly a well-known hotbed for talent. Will the switchability I discussed before be carried over to the NBA? Time will tell. Make no mistake, engagement can be a problem at times as he has failed to close out properly on more than a few occasions. Overall, Daron Holmes makes a hell of a lot of sense for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's effective in the pick and roll, appears to be a capable shooter, can reject shots, and looks the part of a switchable defender who could step right into the role of the third big. Basically, he would fit exactly what the Cavaliers need out of the 4 or 5 spot. He has stretch big written all over him. Now, it does bear mention that he has apparently canceled workouts after receiving a draft promise from a particular team though. He has largely kept his pre-draft workout secret, which makes it hard to determine who it came from, but it's an interesting twist on the situation. Last but certainly not least, for all of you who don't know, I am from Dayton, Ohio, so I have an inherent bias on my hands in regards to the Dayton Flyers and their NBA prospects. I want to see all of them experience success, and over the years, Dayton has seen a few former players make their way to the NBA or very close to it. In fact, there have been 25 total players over the course of Dayton's history that have made it to the NBA. Obi Toppin might be the most recognizable name, but there are many more, like Jim Paxson Jr. and Sr., Roger Brown, Jordan Cyber, Scoochie Smith, Charles Cook, Chris Johnson. Honestly, I could go on and on, but I can't wait to see where this young man lands. Go Cavs.